They call me the coffee guy around here, but once I had a name and a family. Every morning for 20 years, I've come to this same coffee shop, same booth, same black coffee, same window facing the sea. Some people call it a routine. For me, it's survival. My name's Raymond Carter. I'm 78. I served in the Navy back when men didn't ask questions and silence was considered strength. Maybe that's why I lost more than I kept. The cafe is called Harbor Brew, tucked in a sleepy corner of Galveston, Texas, just far enough from the beach to escape the tourist chaos, but close enough that you can still smell the salt in the morning air. This place has watched me age. It's where I met June, my wife. She worked here once, smiling, stubborn, wearing her apron like a badge of honor. Cancer took her 17 years ago. I still see her in the empty chair across from me. This place is the last thread connecting me to the world before everything unraveled. After June passed, it became my chapel of memory. The only place where my regrets speak softly enough that I can breathe. Last Tuesday, Ellie, the owner, stood behind the counter with tears hiding in her smile. "We're closing next month, Ray," she said. "I tried, but I can't keep it going anymore." I stared at my coffee, the world around it starting to blur. When you're old, people expect you to lose things, teeth, vision, friends. But this cafe, this booth, it wasn't supposed to go. Not yet. The next day, she hired a new girl. A barista with a spark behind her eyes and a messy bun that looked like she never quite finished what she started. Her name tag read Marissa. She looked 20-something, maybe 25, with hair the color of autumn and a posture like she was searching for something invisible. "You must be the legendary black coffee man," she teased on her second shift. "You must be new," I replied without looking up. She laughed. "Sharp. I like that." Something about her tugged at me. Maybe it was the red hair, or the way she looked at the sea when she thought no one was watching. That night, I sat at home and pulled out a photograph from the mantel, one I never framed. It's curled at the edges now, the ink beginning to fade. Me, June, our daughter Lily, and a little red-haired girl on June's lap. Lily's daughter. My granddaughter. I only met her once, just long enough to memorize the color of her eyes and forget the sound of her laugh. She would be around 25 now. Couldn't be. Could it? The idea struck me so hard I didn't sleep a minute. Just sat there in the dark, holding that photo like it still had things to say. I brought the photo to the cafe the next morning, tucked it in a worn envelope, and slid it under my coat like it was evidence in a case nobody had solved. Marissa arrived a few minutes past 7. Her hair was still wet from a hurried shower. She handed me my coffee without asking. "You really never order anything else?" she asked. "I believe in loyalty," I said. She smiled. "To coffee? To what it represents?" She looked at me a moment longer than necessary, like she was trying to read between the wrinkles on my face. I waited for the usual small talk, but instead she asked something unexpected. "Did you ever lose someone?" Without getting to say goodbye. The question sucker punched me in the ribs. "Yes," I answered. "More than once." She nodded, biting her bottom lip. "My mom passed away 2 years ago. Car accident. She was complicated." "I'm sorry," I said, the words heavier than usual. "She never talked about her family," Marissa went on. "Said there wasn't much to say. But I think that was her way of protecting herself." I looked at her, trying not to stare. "What was her name?" "Lily Bennett." The coffee cup shook in my hand. I set it down slowly. "My daughter's name was Lily," I said carefully. She froze. "Was?" I didn't know how to explain the years that stretched between us, the silence that hardened into grief. "She left a long time ago. We had a falling out. I never saw her again." Her hand drifted to her apron pocket. She pulled out a necklace, a locket, worn with age. She opened it and showed me. Inside was a tiny photo of Lily. My Lily. And a baby girl with red curls. I found this in her things, she said. She never talked about him, my grandfather. Just said she wished things had been different. I reached into my coat and slid the photo across the table. Marissa stared at it. Her eyes widened. Her fingers traced the curled edges. I've seen this before, she whispered. Mom had one just like it. That's me. That's June. That's Lily, I said, voice rough. And that's you. She didn't speak. Just stared, the kind of stare that tries to hold on to everything at once. Memory, grief, shock. After a while, she looked at me and said, "Why didn't you find her?" I tried. Letters. Calls. But pride's a powerful poison. She never answered. She turned the photo over. My handwriting was still faint on the back. For Lily. Always. You waited all this time, she murmured. Every morning, I said. At this window. And then, just before she turned away to refill a cup for someone else, she said something soft. I think. She wanted me to find you. The next morning, I woke up before the sun. My bones ached the way they always do when rain is near, but I didn't mind. Today wasn't about pain, it was about truth. Marissa met me at the edge of town, where the old Galveston lighthouse leaned like a tired sentinel against the wind. The wooden path leading toward it creaked under our steps. She carried the photo in her jacket pocket. I carried something older, a memory I'd buried 20 years ago and hoped would never need unearthing. This was your spot? She asked, eyeing the lighthouse like it might speak. Mine and Lily's, I said. We used to come here when she was little. She'd collect sea glass and tell me stories she made up on the spot. Said the lighthouse kept secrets. Maybe she was right. Marissa smiled faintly, the wind lifting her hair. She never told me much about her childhood, just that the ocean reminded her of someone she loved and hated all at once. We reached the flat rock at the base of the cliff. I knelt slowly, brushing away sand and time, revealing a spot where I once buried a metal box. My hands trembled as I pulled it from the earth, rusted at the corners but still sealed. Inside, a silver locket and an envelope, weathered but intact. This is the letter I wrote the day she left, I said. I didn't know where to send it, so I left it here. I figured. If she ever came back, she'd find it. Marissa took the letter gently. Her fingers hesitated at the edge, then unfolded it. I watched her read it in silence, watched the expressions play across her face like waves against stone. Confusion, sadness, then a flicker of something like forgiveness. You told her you were wrong, she whispered, that you regretted everything. I did. I still do. Marissa pressed the letter to her chest. She must have known. Before she died, she told me if I ever found this town, I'd find something I was missing. I thought she meant history. I didn't think she meant you. She opened the locket and traced her thumb over the pictures, Lily and June. Her past and mine, finally meeting in her hands. There's something else, she said softly, voice trembling now. Mom kept a journal. She never let me read it. But after she died, I couldn't stop myself. I needed to know who she was beneath the walls. I didn't move. I just listened. There was a letter, she continued, tucked inside the back cover, unfinished, addressed to you. She wrote, if I could go back, I'd walk straight into that café and sit across from you. I'd tell you I'm sorry too. My breath caught. For a moment, I forgot how to speak. Marissa reached into her bag and handed me a folded paper, creased, fragile. I opened it slowly, recognizing Lily's handwriting instantly. That familiar curl on her lowercase y. She had written it just 2 weeks before the accident that took her life. I looked out at the sea, blinking away tears that had waited too long to fall. She was coming back, I whispered. She was finally coming back. Marissa nodded. And now, I'm here. We sat on the rock together, no longer two strangers, but a family rediscovered through paper, loss, and the stubborn pulse of memory. And as the waves crashed below us, something shifted, not in the ocean, but in me. For the first time in decades, I felt light. It took less than a month for the sign to come down. Harbor Brew was no more. In its place, a freshly painted wooden board appeared above the door, Lily's Light. Marissa did all the legal work herself, used a portion of her inheritance to buy the building, and poured every ounce of herself into remodeling. But she didn't tear it down. She restored it. Floorboards creaked the same, the windows still steamed up in the mornings, and my booth remained untouched. The difference was in the air. Where once memory had clung like fog, now there was warmth, hope, a quiet joy. She asked me to be part of the reopening. I said no at first. I didn't want attention, didn't want a spotlight. But she insisted. You were the heartbeat of this place, she said. Now you're the soul. The grand reopening was modest. Friends, neighbors, a few curious tourists. But to me it felt like a cathedral. Marissa unveiled a framed photo behind the counter. The same one I'd kept for years, now restored, enlarged, and finally sealed in a frame of rich, dark oak. Beneath it, an engraved plaque, for Lily who found her way home. People asked me about the photo all day. I told them the truth, that it was a story about mistakes, second chances, and the power of silence finally being broken. But there was one more gift Marissa had prepared. A wall of letters. Near the back of the café, hung delicately in shadow boxes, were copies of every letter I wrote to Lily. And next to them, her unfinished letter to me. I thought people should see what reconciliation looks like, Marissa said. Even if it didn't happen the way either of you planned. We sat together after closing that night, the place humming with the memory of voices. I'm glad you found me, I said. I think we found each other, she replied. I didn't know it then, but it would be the last night I sat in that booth. 2 weeks later, I passed in my sleep. Peacefully. Without pain. At 4:17 a.m., the cafe clock stopped ticking. Marissa never fixed it. She left it frozen there, like a quiet reminder that time doesn't just end. It marks something. A beginning, maybe. A legacy. Now, she opens Lily's Light every morning. Brews the coffee. Wipes the tables. Greets strangers with a warmth that feels like coming home. My booth's still there. Sometimes a customer sits there. Sometimes it stays empty. But always there's a framed photo, a wall of letters, and a girl behind the counter who carries generations in her smile. Because family, you see, doesn't always arrive when we expect. Sometimes it finds its way home through time, memory, and a cup of black coffee by the window.